I'm back, and the pan is clean.
So
I descended into the depths, and I gave it my all, and I blew it. And although I have a bit of a mess on my hands, the leak is gone. And I even talked Katie into cleaning up the mess.
Wow. Who put it back together?
I thought I did that pretty good. I purposely tried to make that sound awful.
It looked awful.
For the win, it did look awful.
Using a wrench to disassemble something that was meant for an
All my
impact.
tools were in the stinking trailer. I get you on FaceTime and you're like, did you use all those tiny wrenches to pull those screws off of the air conditioner? Yes. It all makes sense as to why he called back 45 minutes later. That's a lot of tiny screws.
Yeah. Did blowing out the line work?
It did. I did what you told me to, and I stuck my finger in that little hole along with a paper towel. And
what are we talking about?
I jammed that air compressor thing, which is crazy because this is that little air compressor doodad is the same one that I use on when I'm pressing the merch to send t-shirts out to people when they buy rhythm gear. So I got to give it a nice cleaning before the next shirt order goes out. So, all the water, of course, went everywhere as soon as I stuck the air compressor thing in the hole. But as soon as it went through the line, I instantly could hear what is that little thing called that sucks all the water up and spits it out over in the sink?
Condensate pump?
Yeah, that kicked on right away. And then it just started sucking up and all that googly nonsense. And
did you put some bleach in that line?
I put some vinegar in there.
That's fine.
Should I have put it in the other end too, where that little hole is on the top of the pipe?
You should have put it in that stack where that P-trap was that you were.
Okay, yeah, I did that too. Out. So I put some in there, and then I put some in the pump.
Good. Yeah, that way it runs through.
Perfect.
I'm sorry I didn't see it when I was there.
Well, be happy that you weren't here because I cleaned that pump out. I actually took it apart and cleaned it and got a bunch of that gunk out. What is the slimy, gooey, white stuff that's in there? Man, it was. He's going to be pissed that he missed this.
Term for that. I don't know the proper term for that.
Okay,
we'll just call it AJ's goo.
AJ's goo. It's like Slimer and Ghostbusters, the ectoplasmic residue.
Ectoplasma.
Ectoplasma.
I mean, it's dirt and all that hair. Yeah. It's just like in your plumbing faucets and the sinks, all that stuff and grease and all that builds up.
Yeah.
It's sucking all that air throughout the house and mixing it with that water. And then if you never cleaned it out, it leaks on the floor.
Noted. I would like the goo to be that pink stuff, though, from Ghostbusters, too. I'd like to see what my AC acts like after that.
Not to be confused with the green stuff.
Welcome to the Rhythm Pyro Podcast, where Posey, AJ, and Jamie ignite your passion for pyromusical show design while testing the very limits of your capacity for stupid.
Welcome to the Rhythm Pyro Podcast. I'm Bo. That's small time.
Hello.
And the Pyro Padres ausente this week.
Adios.
Absent in Spanish. We're hobbyists and semi-professional pyro show designers. We love Pyromusicals, oodles. And our podcast is a place where we can get together, talk shop, fireworks art, and share tips, tricks, news, and insights with you. We hope you had a wonderful, successful, safe, and fulfilling 4th of July.
I did.
You did.
I was just happy to sleep.
Are you super sunburnt too?
You don't even get half of it.
Really?
I look like I have leprosy.
Katie, we were out to dinner last night and she was behind me in the line and she just started doing that thing where she just touches me in weird spots.
Like, ow.
Well, I didn't know why she was doing it, but she was like brushing the back of my neck. And
all
I turn around.
skin.
Yeah, she's brushing off all the dead skin cells because they've already started to peel.
Oh, yeah. I'm blistered up so bad. I still have multiple spots that are blood red and still hurt.
Yeah. Are your feet really sunburned too?
No. I actually had a tan except for where I'd taken my shirt off and forgot to put sunblock on for 3 hours. Oh, I'm hurting. I am hurting. It's starting to itch like crazy right now.
Yeah, I think I'm itching too. My arm was itching, but it was only itching because I think that stuff inside the air conditioner has fiberglass in it.
Yeah, the inside wall does.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that until about 10 minutes ago when I'm like, man, why does my left arm itch this bad?
Right.
Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, that's when we're comparing sunburns.
Yeah. That's your awesome show.
Oh, that's right. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for being there and helping me get that show off the ground. Because had you not been there, I think Nick and I would have probably still been there, and maybe the show had gone off tonight, and it's like the 10th.
No, you just would have postponed it because you needed more time to put it up.
Yeah. When Katie and I compared skin tones, I was like, "Hey, this is pretty crazy. Down here, I'm darker than you, but up here, you're darker than me." So about where the farmer's tan starts, up above that, it's like I'm 3 times as white as she is. Okay, socials. Go to the Patreon, patreon.com/rhythmpyro. As a supporting member, you get elite status on the Discord server, and you get access to the monthly bonus shit show episode. You'll be the first to know when we're going to do a casting call for that. Casting call is probably going to go out here. Oh, I don't know. Probably next week. We'll send a casting call out on the Patreon, and then from the Patreon, we'll go to the Discord. So go join the Discord server too. There's a link to both in the description of this episode. Yeah, and then go check out Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. Today, we're going to talk about how to improve creatively when it comes to Pyromusicals.
There's a lot of things that go into a Pyromusical, especially to make it easy, like slats.
There's plenty of slats and stuff to plug in, and an integral part of bringing your Pyromusical from the computer screen into real life. So why not make your firing system setup your own with slats, breakout boards, and other firing system accessories from muuxBRD. muuxBRD is a staple in workflow improvement, and your system is going to stand out on the shoot site next to your peers too. It's going to look uber sexy because it's going to be your own. It's going to have your own logo. It's going to be your own color. CJ's got you. CJ, muuxBRD's owner, is a circuit board designer by day and has been shooting displays for over 25 years. If you need any accessories for your firing system, look no further and head over to muuxBRD.com. That's muuxBRD.com. Thank you, CJ, for sponsoring this week's episode.
Thank you, CJ. And I do have a question. If AJ orders a specific color, do you just send any color and just tell him that's what it is?
I'd send an empty box. And then when he's sitting there playing with the paper, what the hell? Where's my slats? We can go, bro, I shipped them. You said you wanted the red ones.
And the nice thing about it, when somebody makes you mad, you throw them at somebody, they have those sharp edges.
Yeah, right. Like a Ninja Star.
Ninja Star. That's
Ninja Star.
Yeah. I said one click, not two.
One click, not two. And you're dead. Let's talk about how to improve creatively. So we don't, we'll take all the fancy stuff and set that aside this week. We'll do how to improve creatively. So whether you're a annual warrior and you throw a Pyromusical up each year, or you're putting up something at club shows throughout the year, whether you shoot several throughout the year, or whether you do this professionally, you're always trying to get better in your pursuits. And sure, all of the technical stuff is part of that. The administration is part of that. But I wanted to approach this episode solely from a creative perspective. How do you force yourself, if you need to force yourself, into being creative? So, like for you, when you do your 4x8, it's got to be special because one, it's a competition show. So you have to roll something out that's completely different. You do you ever feel like you're forcing yourself into trying to be more creative? And then if the answer to that question is yes, how do you approach everything that might affect the creative layout of your show on the timeline? And that could include product, that can include, the ordering of product and the way that you do a lot of your shapings throughout the vertical. How do you approach that when you're trying to tell yourself, hey, I got to do something different?
Oh, my issue is I have to rein myself in.
Do you go crazy with it?
I go a little crazy. It's especially when we're talking about a 4x8, but I go through and I start watching all these amazing shows that everybody puts on for the 4th. And I'm like, oh man, that was cool. Man, that was cool. And then my mind starts thinking, it's like, oh, I got to start working on my 4x8. So then I've got all these cool ideals and all these things I've saw. And I'm like, I'm going to do that on the 4x8.
I'm going to take that thing that they did across. Yeah, right. I'm going to take that thing that they did across 15 front positions. I'm going to figure out how to put it in a 4x8 spot.
Yeah, and float it on the lake. So that's my issue when it comes to that particular setup. Is once I start thinking about things, I start thinking outside the box, and then it's like, okay, hold on a minute. I'm on a 4x8. It was like last year. I ended up not doing the 4x8 because I helped with the main show, but I was working on doing Danger Zone, the rock version. Mm-hmm. And I was working on the board, and I'm just like, it's not. I ended up doing it for my main show because there was so much I wanted to do with that song creatively that I'm like, okay, my hands are tied. So over the last 2 years, I'm like, all right, what can I do in a 4x8 space to do more stuff?
Yeah.
So I've had people telling me, it's like, dude, you're crazy. How are you going to do that? It's like, I don't know. I got to figure it out.
Well, it's got to be immensely difficult. When you did it on the 4x8 though, and I know we've talked about this a number of times before, but like the way that you angled your single shots, a lot of the 4x8 shows that I've seen in that kind of competition format, people tend to just utilize the space the way that you think to utilize the space. Taking all of your single shot racks and essentially building a pyramid of single shot racks. So you just had these diagonal walls of single shots and board allocation space that enabled you to put a whole hell of a lot of stuff out into the different verticals, because you've got stuff that you can essentially put in your low verticals out nice and wide, or you can send that stuff up. And you had a ton of really nice arch shaped patterns throughout the different verticals. And I'd say that you use those really well. However, what was your aha moment where you're like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to build a pyramid.
So it came from the simple concept of, normally I put a wedge underneath of cake so I can angle the cake on my board, 15 degrees, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, why don't I angle my single shots 15 degrees? And that allows me to get more extras. Like, well, why stop at 15 degrees? If I angle these racks here, I can get more shots in the same footprint. And now I'm at 45 degrees. And now I have so many extreme angles that I can work with. And if I want to go straight up, then I just go straight up. So it started with the simple idea of where you go from, it's a flat surface, 4 foot by 8 foot, to, let's angle a cake, to let's angle a rack. Let's wait, if I angle it higher, I can fit the whole thing on there. Because my difficult thing is I follow the rules as well as they are described to the T. If the product's not supposed to stick over the edge of the 4x8, it's not going to stick over the edge of the 4x8. And I'm sitting there fighting with the rack to get the product angled, but not extending to the point that I'll put lower caliper shells closer to the edge of the board and put the higher caliper higher up in the pyramid, so they have more room to be angled. And that's one of the most difficult things is I've seen boards out there, the product's hanging over the edge, but it's on the 4x8. I'm like, whatever, I don't care. But I'm like, I've approached it to a level of difficulty that I'm like doing everything I can to think outside the box, but stay within the rules that are aligned, because I've got to set some kind of challenge up for me. And I was happy to see so many Pyromusicals last year, because it's like, man, this is awesome. Everybody's thinking outside the box now. It's starting to expand to the point that maybe we should have 2 4x8s. The Pyromusical crew and the standard 4x8, because the Pyromusicals are hard to compete against if you're just shooting stuff. And I'm like, ooh, because it all depends on the rules, but ours are, the 4x8 footprint. I'm staying with those parameters. Yeah. So is everybody else. And it just keeps getting better every year. So,
well, and it's like, kudos to all of the designers that roll out 4x8s and put up shows in that format, because the one thing that I worried about initially, the board was like, let's do a 4x8 competition. Everybody, you pay a couple $100 and you could, you pay astronomical amounts of money to play.
You just pay for the product.
You wind up paying for the product, but there's some prizes in it. But I was worried initially, especially considering I just had this preconceptive thought that everybody was going to be doing musicals. And it wasn't the case first year. I think there were at least maybe 2 or 3 boards out of the 4 or 5 entrants that had just standard. Like one of them was completely fused from end to end. Another one was just, it was just cues, yada, yada. But the guys that did musicals made the most of the space that they were given. And I'm not talking about just like the physical space. I'm talking like what you guys did within stacking the verticals and product selection. None of the shows looked the same.
No.
Well, that's what I was really hesitant about at first, because I'm like, how do you take a format like this and really differentiate it? Because even in standard Pyromusicals, where your wingspan's huge and you've got 7 or 8 fronts, even more fronts, and shell positions alike, and you can manage to put product in at these positions that are going to differentiate your show. And just in your origin point of your effects and things like that. But 4x8, you're hog-tied into that one launch position. So you're everybody's expecting things to come from one origin point. So it's like, how do you make sure that you're being as creative as possible in your effects selection to create cool shapes that change the show, that make your show different from somebody else's on the field?
Well, you got your different verticals, which when you're shooting horizontal, they're all going to go different heights. So same concept when you're using it in a horizontal application. It's going to widen your footprint from your 4 foot. You're shooting something that goes 150 feet high. Now you're going 150, 160 feet at a 30-degree angle going out both directions. Now you just filled up a 260-foot wide parameter, and then you can create as you come back toward the center, you can create your own little parabolic curve within the footprint of that one single spot.
Right.
I mean, you're limited on doing parabolic designs and things like that, but the overall curvature of your show, the way you shoot your shells, if you shoot 3 at 3 different angles and things like that, you can create those little tiny things and just give that symmetry. It's just, you got to think outside the box.
Yeah. How much time do you put into exploring new effects before a season starts? Before you sit down and start jumping into your design, how much do you have a dedicated process toward that? I mean, will you spend months poring over effects, or are you just kind of keeping your ear to the ground and your eyes on videos?
Normally, I work with the product I have, and throughout the year, and it comes from my shows too, is like, oh, I really like that effect, or, oh my God, I want to use that on the board. I think about, different cakes or different single shots. I really like different effects, like NOABs. I like to pull out in single shot NOADs because they have different effects that aren't just your standard shell. So you can build a little more enunciation on that, or, slow parts of a song, considering we had to fill 5 minutes of a Pyromusical on a 4x8 board, 5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah.
I need some slow parts of the song so I don't have to burn through so many shots. And that's literally space on my board. And I usually work on the board for about 2 months, and that's scripting it and trying to figure out how to get what I scripted on the board, and then having to go back. I usually have my script with me while I'm working on the board in the barn, and I'm removing, adding, changing, editing, putting the angles on the board. I'm like, nope, that's not going to work. Oh, that shot's got to go 4 rows up, so I've got to put that up here. That's not going to fit there. Things like that. And then I slowly piece it together. Once I'm like, okay, I can fit all of this product on here and I've got it scripted, then it's making sure how to put it together, getting it all set up so that way I can put it together on site, because that thing doesn't just move in one piece.
Yeah, right.
So it's a couple month process. Picking my effects is, if I see something that catches my eye, I'll jot it down. Like at your show, you made me spend money I didn't have because I'm like, I need those. I already have a spot in it for a song that I want to use those right there, but I got to figure out how to do it still. I still got to finish my song.
Yeah. Well, I think seeing videos,
something about Nate hold my trophy or something like that. I don't remember.
seeing videos and seeing how people utilize different effects. I think there's so much utility in just exposure to the different effects. And you will typically get that in places like, you'll get it on Facebook, you'll get it in people's YouTube videos. You'll get it by watching just the competition scene in general and different effects, and then trying to find stuff that might be coming out of China that could potentially be the same thing.
Right now I'm trying to source some sliders and X holders that Spirit normally carries.
Oh,
but
cool.
I can't find them anywhere. And I'm
That's the ones that go on the llamas.
Yeah, or they just have plastic sliders.
Yeah.
But I'm like, those would be perfect for an ideal I have to hold multiple shots where the Krako's not going to work. And I'm like, now I can't find them. Spirit's sold out. I'm like, come on, seriously? I missed when Trap was selling a bunch of this stuff. And I'm like, man.
They're bound to, I would say, did you call them? I'm sure they're bound to have more by October, though.
I don't know. I'm not looking to spend $700 for 10 shots.
Just send back one of your cases of 22s that you bought.
Yeah.
That'll buy you 4 X holders.
Yeah. Shipping to be more than the X holders.
Yeah. I think it's aesthetic palettes, like color palettes have always been a big driving point for me when it comes to trying to find a different aesthetic and a different way to approach things. And I know we've talked about color somewhat on other episodes, but like I can't emphasize enough how, picking the right effects for a particular site picture will make or break the site picture, because during your really quick movements in songs, if you're taking fast burning effects, those fast burning effects are going to do what they're meant to do, which is emphasize your music and then get out of the way. So you can essentially come back to filling that same spot and like creating your flow patterns throughout your verticals. Like that's always been, that's been really important to me. But like the last couple of years, I went from kind of approaching things on I'm going to throw all of my hit points on a timeline. I'm going to feel out a piece of music and understand what the music is doing and figure out how that piece of music is making me feel here. And instead of just going nuts with ignition points and, getting crazy with it, and, I would traditionally create flows, but like, I do feel like I forced myself out of the box that I was in. The box that I was in was very much pedal to the metal, throw up a whole bunch of stuff, hit every single, 16th note or every single 32nd note or triplet pattern and, emphasize that change in the music. But I wasn't paying enough attention, or I felt like I could be a lot better at filling the different verticals, but also creating something where there was nothing, but not to a point where it was pulling away from the focal point of whatever that section was. And that's kind of when I got into the whole like void space recognition. And then I was like, all right.
Phenomenal job on the lake this year with that.
Thank you.
Phenomenal. When you took those shots at the extreme angles over the lake, the dual reflection on that was just phenomenal.
Yeah, dude, it's the lake. It does really add it adds something to the way that looks. The side of the lake, the spectator side, got it way better than we did this year. When I checked my video after it was all said and done, like I still got good video and you can still see it just because of the camera settings that I use. But the smoke definitely came toward us on command side this year, which kind of sucked. Like in every other year, it usually blows over towards the spectator side and we got lucky. But it just, I need that. I need the Jamie money so I can buy two of the same camera and set them up on different sides of the lake.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, but like
I got one for free.
Yeah. Everybody's getting, you just hand them out like candy. And you get a gimbal, and you get a gimbal, and you get a gimbal. You're like Oprah.
You only need one. I only need one gimbal, and
I only need one, man.
So.
I got two hands, and this other one's busy putting both show up. So I can't. Obviously, not going to be holding two. Yeah, the void space thing was different, but it was a chance to take my philosophy on color palettes and creating aesthetically pleasing pictures using color and complementary colors, and put them up in the same sight picture, but not in the traditional way that I'd done it before, where I was like doing hard separations in the field. I would just like pick a color palette and I would hard stick to that through an entire 3-minute song. But recently, this past year, like Chasing Ghosts was just a smorgasbord of stuff that I had stored. Like there wasn't any, it was more like take inventory, figure out what I have, and then figure out how to utilize some of that stuff. And to be quite honest, I thought it looked better because I felt like the song was evolving through the song. It went through different sections versus, if I rewind several years and look at some of my work from years and years ago, where, I would be hard coded to, like a red, yellow color scheme or like a green, purple color scheme. It did feel like it was moving and changing, which is the whole point of music. Like you're going to hear that the music is going to change. So why shouldn't the product that you use throughout your show, even the shortest of shows, It was a big challenge for me was how do I still create the feeling that this stuff is going in time with the music, but I'm trying to create big shapes and big sight pictures, but I'm putting stuff in spots where you wouldn't you would traditionally see runs where you might see like a whole sweep of the same comet kind of going off at the same time. The designer is trying to portray a feeling that one effect can tell the story of. I wanted to do something different with that, with the void space stuff. And I wanted to take all kinds of different effects, mesh them up into one space, and then kind of play off of all of their burn times to try to keep an eye open for my next opportunity. Here's a beat. Maybe let me play around with something and see if I can fit something in right here to almost truly make the sight picture look like a kaleidoscope. Like it's continually moving, but like you're not getting a whole bunch of stuff that's stepping on other stuff. Yeah.
What you did with the ghost mine, they weren't even ghost mines. You made them ghost mines. The sweeps that you had going on and the color changes and the way you interlinked the higher mines with the lower mines and made them fade at the same time, even though their timing was different. It was just the way you used some of the things was just really, really mesmerizing. and it just really added to that effect.
Those pillar mines are sick, dude. Oh
yeah,
my God, those are
nice.
so
I'm trying to get my hands
good.
on those, and I'm like, I got to use them last year, and I got smoked out.
Yeah.
I'm like, man.
Hey, what was nuts is the ones that you let me use this year, were those from the same batch of the ones that you used in Danger Zone? It was from the same batch?
Yep.
Okay. They go through their first two stages super quick.
Yeah, they do.
It's like, is it like
gold, purple, green?
Yeah.
The green
right.
lasts the most long. The gold's the fastest.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's there for a split second and then it's totally gone. But taking different colors and playing with the secondary effects, you know, if something like if a cross set has a secondary, the cross set itself would be a secondary effect for just an example.
I love using that.
Oh, they're great. They're great because it's like, that's the kind of
There's
stuff.
So many colors of them now.
Yeah.
I got so excited. I got blue ones and purple ones and green ones and red ones. And I'm like, I used to only have red.
Yeah.
And I used to take that apart from a cake.
That's right. That's right. And they got the good stuff now. You don't have to take it apart. But yeah, secondary effects, man. Secondary effects, that's competition winning stuff. Being able to take your secondary effects and utilize them in conjunction with the rest of your display and build around the secondary effect, but still hit a beat and create a moment. That's how you can really make something special. When you did the stuff with Sky Comet, because you did a lot of work with Sky Comets in years past, and I'm not talking just like, Sky Comets bursting and just like the constant kind of barrage of the slower stuff. Like, you did a good job of utilizing the break times to emphasize something in the music that allowed you to bring out the other verticals that were out of the Sky Comet's way. Mm-hmm. So you could make use of them and create kind of like ooh, that's cool moment. I feel like that's what you want in a competition setting, is you want, anybody can get something to go off and emphasize a beat and some music.
If it's cool effect and it's hit on the beat, it's like, ooh, that was really neat.
Yeah, right. It's the cherry on top. It melds the audience into the experience when the firework it's not just going off to the beat of the music. It's literally performing to the beat of the music. And, it's a double whammy in the best of ways if you can get the ignition points and rising effects of those effects to kind of blossom and complement a piece of the music, but also get the secondary effect to do something that's remotely close to something special or create that shape too.
Yeah, it's fascinating when you're saying you used a lot of old product that had been stockpiled and turned it into the show that you did. I do the same thing on the board. I'm like, I got to get rid of some stuff. But then I start doing, I'm like, I want to use this and I want to use that. Yeah. And then, people like Nathan keep on sending me videos. He's like, you see this one? I'm like, why would you send that to me? Because you want it. I'm like, I know, that's the point.
I hate you. I'll take 4 and a full length sausage, please.
25 cases, please.
Yeah, it's right.
Yeah, right.
You should start throwing in summer sausages with every order, I think. Sounds like a really good deal.
He'll never have a shortage of help if he ever needs help.
Yeah,
all he has to do is bribe him with sausage. Had the pirate community show up.
He certainly kept everybody busy at the lake, yomping on his sausage. That's when you brought that. That was kind of the talk of the table the night we recorded the podcast on site.
Right.
First half an hour, I felt like I was completely checked out because I was just like, oh man, I just need 2 seconds so I can eat this.
It probably didn't help you eat all day.
No, yeah, that didn't help either. All right, let's see. What else can we talk about when it comes to trying to force yourself into? Because do you feel like is that hard for you? Do you feel like you have to force yourself? Do you feel like you have to force yourself sometimes to be more creative?
Only this year, because financially it was, I can't be buying a bunch of this and that because I want to do, I got to work with what I got and figure out how to use it a little bit more creatively.
Yeah.
And not have to spend it more money. And it's just been a stressful year in general. But normally, no, it's once I start working on something, it's pretty exciting. I really enjoy it. But if I'm super, super busy, that's when I got to force myself. It's like, I ain't got time for this. I got to do this. And then I got to create the effects and simulations, and it becomes a task and a chore. That's when I got to force myself to do it. But when I'm actually just designing, I really enjoy that aspect of it and creating it and building it. As long as I got time. If I don't have time, then it's a chore.
Yeah.
And then I got to force myself.
Yeah. I think the finale, I feel like the finale part in creating the simulations will always somewhat feel like that. What's great though is, hindsight being 2020, like you can always go back into a design after it's over. And like, cause this is how I've been refining my effect simulations the last couple of years is I'll get things as close as I can. That night that we went out and tested a few shots, and Nick got them on camera. Like those were the last handful of things that I didn't feel like I was super comfortable with in the show because I wasn't quite sure how they performed versus the placeholder simulations that I made.
You nailed the pillar mine.
Yeah. Well, and what was crazy was I still used the stock simulation that was in there. Because I didn't have time to build it, I was like, all right, I know this isn't how it performs, but I'm just going to time it like that's what it is. So if I ignite it here and I put another cue here, I know that cue is exactly when I'm going to get that change to green, and it's going to have that like wave effect. And then that's when I'm going to let my 22s rip. And then hopefully those kind of mesh up with the strobing part of the 22s. And that's what happened. But like in the simulation, it still doesn't look, that part does not look right. But it was like when we were sitting at the table doing all the modules, and I even showed you, I said, hey, look at that. And I said, that looks stupid, doesn't it? And you just kind of looked at it and you're like, yeah, bro, I'm busy. I'm busy syncing all your modules here. Sure, it looks great.
I just want to go to bed.
Yeah, I would just like to sleep. I would like to go to sleep in a room that doesn't get any air conditioning. And
but it's got
about
a fan,
85 degrees, but it's got a fan. Yeah.
Oh, that made a world of difference. Just having a fan. Slept like a baby.
Ew, I bought the Bauer version of that nice fan that you guys got, that Milwaukee one.
I don't have that fan. I want that fan.
Really? Bauer's got one for like $24.
But then I got to buy the whole Bauer setup.
Yeah, that's right. You got
I already have 932 batteries. I just need the fan. I bought batteries off Nick while I was there.
Did you? How much does a Milwaukee battery cost? Because I know that's the most expensive part of the...
It all depends.
Yeah.
It varies from what size you want. So anywhere from $80 to $200.
Big old batteries.
I usually buy like the lights that you guys like so much. I usually buy the light when it comes with a free $200 battery.
Ooh.
So that's why I got 3 lights.
It sounds like that's got some serious milliamp hours to it.
12.
Holy God. That's a lot. Wow.
Yeah. It's the big boy.
That's a lot. All right. Yeah. When it comes to creativity, I guess the biggest piece of advice that I feel I could give for whatever it's worth, when you're out watching Pyromusicals and you're watching videos and you're looking at product, make note of the product, make notes of shapes and different things that people are doing, but don't hog tie yourself into recreating it. Really try to let your imagination kind of cut loose from that and create something that looks cool. Like play around with stuff. Obviously be safe when you're playing around with the stuff. In simulation, like sure, everybody can make the coolest parabolic curve by creating like a Mario fireball sequence with one of the meteors. where it's bouncing across the field. But
oh man, that's a great idea.
Fun. That's a good idea, isn't it?
Oh man, Octoblast 25. We're gonna do the Mario. Oh yeah, we're gonna have freaking Bowser shooting fireballs, bouncing across the ground, the flag, the castle. Oh yeah, see, that's all it takes. Just start talking about it.
Oh God.
Hello, no one in the field will be taking your call.
That's great.
Why don't you ever pick up the phone? I've got something to rescue. I was so endless in your brain. Guys, there's so much knowledge in here. Ready legs, ready legs, and I'll give it to me.
I just realized that I don't have any Mario sound bites on the soundboard.
Doink.
Doink, doink.
Mario.
It's me, Mario. Who would you be? You'd be Toad. You'd be Toad, 100%.
I'd be Toad.
You'd be Toad. You'd be Toad. AJ would say that he's Mario,
Princess.
but he's really the princess. He's Luigi. He's Luigi just because he's tall.
He's Bowser. One click, not two.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luigi, he's tall.
And I'd be Mario in the event that Mario did no plumbing and just hung out in the administration office all day. All right. We got one voicemail this week. It's from the Parabolic Virgin. No more.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, it's gone. He lost it. Congratulations.
Hello, boys. I'm back again. The Parabolic Virgin is a virgin no more. My parabolas were the talk of the hood after what I must say was an above-average show of a Pyromusical. Where I was left disappointed was the coordination of my 62mm shells. I wanted to overlay them with comets, but the shells look much lower than the tails of the comets. When you guys are planning your field layout, do your Medusa racks go up front with single shots or more toward the back? Mine were in the back near my 3-inch display shells.
That's pretty far. That's pretty far back, just depending on where the 3-inch shells were. Assuming that they're at adequate distance, I would say that's pretty far back.
Well, a lot of the 62s have not been performing the way they're supposed to either. So they've not been lifting up as high. So hard saying. I normally put mine not much further behind my cakes, but they have not been going up as high as they used to. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's like their spread is wider at a lower. It's like they do almost look like they're 100 feet or less off the ground when they break.
Yeah. Yeah. The gold lace ones that I used at the lake, I mean, they were still the highest.
Those go up a little bit
They
higher.
did. I mean, they got up there and they were still notably the highest effect coming from that position. But if you think about it, they're originating from the exact same physical position, perceivable position that all the cakes and all the single shots and everything else is going up from. Now, if I was in your shoes, Mr. Virgin, and I was shooting on land, typically when I do a setup like that, I almost always separate the shells from the single shots. They're almost always back off of that line somewhat, but
mine's just about 50 feet.
Yeah. Like Jamie said, I think a lot of those have been under lifted, and they're just not breaking where they should. But I don't know. I mean, it's been years since I took the lift out of one of those to measure it out and see how it compares to the weight of the shell. So
you could do some test shots, see how your 62 is going height wise, and then depending on what caliber comets you were using, see if you can find a lower caliber comet that doesn't go quite as high. But that would definitely be something you need to test shoot before a show if you want it to work out that way.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then the circumference of the break too on the 62s. Yeah. You're depending on where you catch it. So, I'm making a total assumption, which may be entirely wrong, of what he's trying to do with it. If he's trying to kind of give it that snow cone effect where, you get the break, but then you have your rising effects, say 15 or 20 degree bushy tail comets kind of coming out and creating that V pattern snow cone effect. You really have to catch the shell at the right point of the break to do that successfully. And it's very difficult to do because the 62s, you don't ever really, you never know. I mean, if it's a really hard break, but they put a bunch of flash in the break, half the time, a lot of the stars won't light
everywhere,
and it'll look like a mess. One thing that I did do this year with the 62s was I baked in my native pre-fire time. And I'm not talking break time. I'm talking about like that native 0.2 of a second. Like I allocated that into the shell. And I felt like they broke a lot closer to where I wanted them to break than they had historically. You ever done that?
So you added a 0.2 pre-fire time to the lift time?
Yeah, right. Like, so if you have a single shot, like you're just pick a bushy tail or meteor or something. And
yeah, you're just on 0.2
and all of that stuff gets whatever your perceivable pre-fire time is for the music distance from the audience and vice versa. It's really, really difficult on the lake. It's always difficult on the lake or any other place that you have.
Two sides.
Yeah, exactly. And you have music sources on both sides. So, it's like when my aunt was singing the national anthem on the other side of the lake. I mean, I had to completely douse our side, like audio on our side, because it's like everything is almost 2 seconds or like a half a second or a second behind where it should be. And I can't imagine how not confused, but how much that screws her up because she doesn't have in-ears to monitor the audio. She's just singing. So she's probably thinking to herself, oh, I hate, kill these people. They're terrible. Why are they doing this to me? But yeah, no, so if my lift time was, I don't know, just hypothetically speaking, if my lift time was, 1.8 seconds, I just appended another 0.2 of a second onto that shell, just made it like an even 2. And I brought it out even more to try to emphasize where I wanted that to break. And I felt like it did okay.
Yeah, my shoot site's always, mine's pretty simple. So my shells are somewhere between 1.95 and 2.5, somewhere around in there. But I test all those shells, so I don't have to make any major adjustments like you usually have to.
Yeah,
I just wing it.
Yeah, just wing it. Just wing it. Because you know what? Who the fuck does adjustments? Adjustments aren't any fun, especially when you got to do them
nobody's going to remember
before the show. Yeah, nobody's going to remember it. You're the only one that's going to be calling into a podcast saying, what the hell do you guys do? I don't know what to do, guys. Well, neither do we.
Guys, there's so much knowledge in here.
Okay, that's it, I think. That is all for this week. It's a short one.
Yeah. No, AJ, he works too much.
No play, Jay. He's off. He's play working.
Actually, he's not working. He's out having fun right now. Yeah. That's what he's doing.
That's okay. We miss you, buddy.
All fun, no play.
No, we miss you. We miss you. And yeah, sure, we make fun of you while you're gone, but just remember,
it's always while you're here too.
It's always going to be worse when you're actually here.
It's way more fun. Way. Hold on a minute. Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Okay, stop talking about it.
You stop talking about it.
That was perfect timing.
See what I did there?